stand by my true God, cause I am the ruler of my state of Buddha, like Buddha, Buddha, Buddha. I stand by my true God.
Hey, what's up everybody? It is that time again that I share with you a true story that deals with the supernatural. Now, I'm going to do this one with my nephew. This is my oldest nephew, Josh.
This is my buddy. This is my pal.
We're very close. We've always been very close. And he's here because he's a part of the story.
Grab your popcorn, people. You're in for a ride.
We were going to do a reenactment of this like years ago, and it just didn't happen. So I just said, you know what? Let's just go ahead and tell the story with a little visuals here and there. It will be just as effective. And like I always do, there's a moral behind the story, a message, a deeper message. All right, I'm going to start it off. This was 2006, August of 2006. This was the day my mother retired from her job. I was asked to be a surprise guest speaker for my mother. Her coworkers had decided to give her a surprise retirement party. It was a surprise. She didn't even know that we were going to be there. So they knew that I sung, so they asked me to come there and to sing. He was there too, my sister, the family. It was a family affair. And so I was ready. I was ready to go there and be completely present. I was ready for my mother to just retire and enjoy the fruits of her labor. Now, here's the thing. This was on a work day for me. My work day on average starts, I get up on average 5:30 in the morning to get to work at 8:30 in the morning. So on this day, I got up early, went to work as usual, worked all day. Right after I left from work, I had to pick up some people to go to this engagement. And then of course, we get to the engagement, had to get up and speak and sing. Then we had to entertain. People were coming up talking to us or what have you. And then after I had to drive, I had about 4 people that I had to drop them all off. So my day started very, very early, worked long hours, had to go to this retirement party, be totally present. My energy essentially was drained by the time the whole ordeal was over with, but I pushed myself through it. So what happened was, Ja wanted to spend the weekend with me. Because this was on a Friday. He wanted to spend the weekend with me. They always wanted to come and stay with their uncle because I was spoiled to death. They love uncle's good home cooking. They still do. I spoiled them, but I can be tough on them too. So I'm prefacing to, where we're going with this, right? So he asked if he could stay with uncle. So I said I didn't have no problem with it. So after I dropped everybody off, he and we went to my house. So when we were driving home, it was now dark. It was thundering and lightning. Raining hard. It was a very hot day on top of that. So anyway, we get to my house, we get in, I am exhausted. I mean, and I'm very cranky and irritable at this point. So we get in the house, and no more than a few minutes of being in the house, all the power went out. The storm was so bad, it knocked out all the power. The entire area went completely black. Now keep in mind, this was a muggy, hot day. So the AC went off. All the windows was closed because I had, the central air. I had central air, so I had all the windows closed, and even if I opened the window, it wouldn't have made a difference because even though it was raining, it was still really, really, really hot. What I told my nephew, I said, look, I'm exhausted. The power is out. It's nothing we can do. Just go in the room, the guest room, wait until the power come back on. And I went in my room and I lay down. I was so exhausted, y'all. I'm lying there and falling asleep. Even though it was really hot, I was sweating. My house quickly started feeling like a sauna because it's very well insulated. So as soon as the AC goes down, naturally it's really hot, so it's now getting really, really hot. So I try to get comfortable, but I'm still sweating bullets, but I push through it, right? So I'm lying on my bed, falling asleep. Next thing I know, now you can come in and start telling your side.
Well, first off, I want to start off by saying what it do, everyone. I went inside the room and I sat down, and when I sat down, you know, as I said, again, it just got very, very hot. So I laid down, was trying to go to sleep, but for whatever reason, I could not go to sleep. And I was a kid at the time, so I was afraid of the dark, and you know, and being things the way they are, and how Uncle talks, and the way he teaches us. You know, he was explaining to me of not being afraid of the dark, because I always used to be afraid of the dark. So tried to go to sleep, couldn't go to sleep. Part of it was because it was hot, but then also too because it was a lot of, I guess, some interesting spirits or whatever going on in the house. And so during that moment, you know, I was hearing stuff. I don't know if I was going crazy or whatnot or whatever, but I was hearing stuff like people talking, people coming up the stairs, you know, like footsteps, like within the entire house. Then on top of it, what made it even worse was the simple fact that it was booming outside, you know, thunderstorming, raining.
And keep in mind, guys, this was it was dark.
Yeah, it was
dark outside, so it's like literally like a horror movie scene. The lightning, thundering, lightning flash, dark. Yeah, go ahead.
So I was, you know, steady trying to go to sleep, but I couldn't go to sleep. Like I said, I was still hearing voices. I got up under the blankets, and keep in mind, again, it was real hot, you know, like a sauna. Heavy clothes, so I got up under the blanket, and though I was hot, sweating bullets, I did not want to get up from under that blanket.
Now, keep in mind, he's still fully dressed. Remember, it's piping hot, and he's not under a blanket, he's underneath the comforter in the guest room.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
So it was real sweaty, and I just kept hearing stuff.
I hear some whimpering going on in the room. So I yelled in the room, and I was like, Ja, are you okay? He got up and he came to the front of my bedroom door, and then he said, I hear voices, and he was crying.
Yeah.
He said, I hear voices, and I hear people coming up the stairs. Keep in mind, my state of mind at this time, I'm tired, I'm cranky, and I'm trying to get him to be a big boy. I said, there's nothing to fear, buddy. Just go in the room,
during that time,
get as comfortable as possible, push through it. I was just trying to encourage him to push through it. So he turned around, he go back in the room, and so I'm lying there trying to get some rest. Then I hear sniffles and whimpering again. So I ignored it at first. So he eventually got up and came back to the room, and he asked me if he could stay in the room with me because he was too afraid. He was afraid, and I said, no, I'm trying to get you to be more independent and to be a big boy, to grow up. You can't be sleeping and laying under Uncle all the time. You're becoming a big boy now. So he turned back around and went in the room, and now he's in there really crying and upset.
Yeah.
So then I just said, I pushed myself to get up, and I went in the room. And now when I went in the room, he's underneath the comforter, with it all the way over his head, just sweating, crying, really upset. That's when I started feeling kind of bad. get your cranky ass together. This is still a child. And so what I did, I said, all right, okay. I'll come in and I'll sit in with you. So what happened was, I then went back in my room and I got my do-rag. And I went and I sat at the end of the bed that he was on. And I was putting my do-rag on. Then all of a sudden, there was a double door closet right next to the bed. Now mind you, no power, no ventilation, it's piping hot, thundering and lightning, nighttime.
Both the doors, alright? And you know, we laugh about this stuff, you know, now because this was, you know, back then, but in that moment it was pretty scary. I was still a kid. So those two doors, I kid to you not, with those two doors, it's as if somebody was inside of the closet, shaking the doors real loud. Like, I mean real loud. Like, you know, banging and all of that stuff. It felt like the room was shaking. And while the doors were shaking and like banging, I heard it was a voice. If you could think of like maybe the most terrifying voice that I really, like I said, can't really, you would have to beat it. It was terrifying. It's as if somebody was like screaming, just shaking that whole door. And so when it happened, that's when I jumped up. I jumped up and I was like, see?
I got up. I went to the door as the doors were shaking.
Yeah.
Now, he could hear. Now, mind you, I'm tired. I didn't hear. I saw. I didn't hear. He was picking up on the sound. The energy, the entity was on his conscious mind, so he was picking up what I couldn't hear, but I saw it.
Yeah.
So when I saw it, I looked at it. I'm looking at it. I got up and I went to the closet. I opened the door.
And I was like, oh. It quickly got back under the blanket.
And I'm standing there with the door. Now I saw the energy, the shadow. I saw that when I opened the door. I wasn't afraid. Y'all, this is my life. And it's no biggie to me.
Yeah,
so, of course, when I jumped in, stepped in the situation, the entity fled. So it was a teachable moment. It didn't come back after that point. So that's when I had the conversation with him. I told him, I first apologized for being so snappy to him, and I had to remember that, like I told you guys a long time ago, children naturally have a sixth sense until we are, because we've all been children, for the most part, until we are brainwashed and oh, it's just your imagination. This is the key thing here. When all of the lights went out, all around us are frequency gates. Frequencies and bandwidth of cell phones, cell towers, TV towers, all kind of stuff, right? So when those frequency gates shut down, children who are very sensitive, or even adults who are very sensitive, can pick up on entities and energies that are vibrating on another dimension. Now with him, because he was so terrified of what he was picking up and all the frequency and all the barriers that often block us from tapping into and hearing these things, is when all of that had been shut down and he became sensitive to it, I wasn't considering that in that moment. And his fear, it's like fear in this matrix with these entities, these particular beings, it's like bleeding in an ocean. And you know how sharks can pick up blood, blood or bleeding miles away? These entities are the same way. The minute you generate fear, boom, they're there. So I explained to him that, buddy, I apologize. What you experienced was very real, but you must understand that these things feed off of fear. You saw how when Uncle jumped up and went right to it, it left, and he felt a lot more safe when he saw me confront and, me teaching him this. So I wanted to share this story because that fear, man, I'm telling y'all, one of the reasons why the world is the way it is, and fear manifests in so many different ways. Fear is such a crippling emotion. And there are beings on earth and beyond who use fear and scare tactics to feed off of people, to feed off of souls, to manipulate, to get an outcome that they wouldn't get under any other circumstance. But when you are fearless and you're standing in your power, these beings have no power. This whole experience reminded me of the cartoon Monsters in the Closet. I don't even think that movie Monsters in the Closet, the Disney movie about monsters being in the closet.
I remember.
Was that out then? I don't know.
No,
I mean, you guys can tell us below. I'm not sure. But that movie has a lot of truth. Again, when children talk about hearing voices and Monsters Inc. Thank you. When children talk about hearing voices and things like that, especially when they become sensory deprived, again, frequency gates and all that being shut down. And let me tell you guys something. I want to interject. This is what happens too when we so-called quote-unquote die. The same kind of thing happens just as when all the energy went down, he became more sensitive to entities and sounds and vibrations beyond that we can't see at any other time. When the body so-called dies, the sensory, when the brain and consciousness start shutting down, that means that from a human body perspective, the sensory or perception of decoding frequencies and bandwidth from this world begins to shut down, and the mind becomes deprived from this world. And that's when we begin to tap into perceiving in realms of seeing beings that we would see through the human conscious lens. You see? So all of this is a matter of frequencies, vibrations, and bandwidths. If deprived from one perspective of another, make us more conscious and more in tune to pick up on realms and frequencies that are not easily detectable by the human body. And most importantly, the energy of fear, it is the most effective tool that forces use to feed off of, control, and manipulate souls, beings, and the likes. But when you stand in your power and know who you are and don't give into the fear, you become absolutely unstoppable. So I want to thank you, Josh. You want to say anything else before?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but I think around this time, he was starting to teach me a lot more, the spirits and the supernatural and everything and all of that stuff too. Around that time, wasn't that around the time where, with the UFO, if I remember correctly, the UFO?
That was later. That came later. And again, I don't force anything on my nieces and nephews. Now, I am tough on them because I want them to have thick skin. They are children of color in this world, and they, particularly my youngest nephew and him, they're also men of color, and I want them to know what's real in this world and what's real beyond, and I want them to have thick, tough skin. So sometimes I can be a little tough on them. Sometimes they don't get it, but when I give a teachable moment, it's like synchronicity every time. When I asked him about UFOs years ago, when he said he didn't believe in it, I didn't push it or force it. You guys know the story. Literally the very next day, we drive down the highway.
It was clear as day.
Boom. And then actually, you saw another one. He had two more experiences since then. So again, I don't force anything on anyone. I simply share the information, and what always happens they end up having an experience that validate what I say, and then that's when I go more in sharing more information about it and making them more aware of what I've learned and what I know about the situation. So, is that all you want to say?
Well, that's probably it for today. It is getting kind of hot. People hungry. You know what I'm saying? So, it was wonderful being on the camera again. Sharing with you all. I hope everyone's doing well. You all are staying safe. I know it's a crazy time.
Yeah.
So hang in there. Continue. Knowing everything that y'all doing, and like I said, once again, be safe. And what Uncle always says, happy travels.
Happy travels,
yeah,
y'all.
happy travels.
That's it.
Yeah.